By the time I realized how tangled everything had become, I was standing in my tiny bathroom with mascara in one hand and my phone in the other, staring at a text from Steven that said, "New tights came in, want to rate them on Friday?" and fighting the urge to grin like an idiot. I caught my reflection in the mirror, 33, supposedly a grown woman with a serious boyfriend, and thought, how did I get here? I guess it starts with the fact that I've always wanted something different. When other girls in high school were crushing on football players and guys who smelled like Axe and engine grease, I was hiding in the Art Wing computer lab, scrolling photos of androgynous models, sharp cheekbones, long limbs, sheer shirts, eyeliner. I didn't have words for it then. I just knew that when a guy was soft or gentle or wore a ring or a bracelet that looked like something I'd wear, my stomach did that weird roller coaster drop. It wasn't just looks either. I fantasized about a boyfriend who wouldn't flinch at the idea of wearing sheer pantyhose or silk, someone who'd sit still while I did his makeup and talk honestly about how it felt. In my head, I'd dress him in slips and dresses and heels, see the way the fabric hugged his legs, watch his face in the mirror when he saw himself. Not as a joke or a punishment, not, "ha ha, you look ridiculous," but as something beautiful, intimate. I never told anyone. My friends were the type who'd make gagging noises at the slightest hint of anything queer. They'd say things like, "I could never date a guy who wore skinny jeans, it's giving closeted," and everyone would laugh and change the subject to reality shows. When the topic of men in dresses came up at some point, some celebrity doing a gender-bending outfit at an award show, one of them said, "Nope, that's where I draw the line. If my man came home in a dress, I'd call a priest." I smiled and sipped my drink and tried not to flinch, so I learned to split myself. There was the normal girlfriend side, the one who laughed at their jokes, dated guys who looked right in pictures, made all the standard noises about beards and broad shoulders. And then there was the private side, in my head, who got quietly obsessed with the lingerie sections online, imagining how the pieces would look on a body that wasn't mine. When I met Carl, I thought maybe I could just let that part die. He's 29, tall enough that I have to tip my head back to kiss him, with this easy smile that shows up in every photo. We met at a friend's birthday thing, bonded over our mutual hatred of techno music, and he asked for my number before the night was over. He was sweet, attentive, eager to impress me. He worked in IT, liked video games and hiking, hated olives, wanted a dog someday. Very, very normal. We'd been dating for a little over a year when the itch started getting really bad. It was always there in the background, but the more comfortable I got with Carl, the more my brain started filling in the blank spaces. He had nice legs, runner's legs from all his weekend trail runs, and I'd find myself staring at his calves, mentally overlaying sheer black pantyhose. When I ran my hands down his thighs, I'd imagine the slide of nylon instead of denim. I'd picture him in one of those silky robes you see in bridal sets, the belt loose, the fabric moving when he walked. I tried to push it away. Whenever my mind wandered there, I'd think, he's going to freak out if you ever say this out loud. Don't ruin a good thing. But fantasies have this annoying habit of getting louder the more you try to silence them. One night we were on the couch watching some mediocre thriller. A male character showed up in eyeliner and a slightly cropped sweater, and I made this tiny involuntary sound in my throat. Carl glanced over. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said quickly. Just, I like his sweater." He smirked. "Should I get one like that?" My heart slammed against my ribs. "You should," I said, too fast. "Actually, you'd look really good in it." He laughed it off, already turning back to the TV. But my brain stuck on that moment like a splinter. It felt like a door I couldn't stop imagining open. The more we settled into couple mode, shared groceries, toothbrush at his place, Sunday Target runs, the heavier my secret felt. It wasn't just about clothes. It was about wanting a kind of femininity in my partner that every woman around me seemed trained to ridicule, and I didn't know how to reconcile that with Carl, who wore the same 4 t-shirts on rotation and thought skincare routine meant not using the harshest bar soap. The day I finally told him, it wasn't a grand plan. It was the result of a long, crappy week and 2 oversized glasses of wine. We were in his apartment, half-heartedly watching some baking competition, my feet stretched across his lap. He was idly massaging my ankle, and instead of relaxing me, it made all my bottled-up energy come surging to the surface. Can I ask you something kind of weird? I blurted. He muted the TV. Sure. My heart hammered. Part of me screamed to back out, crack a joke. But I'd spent years editing myself down to something palatable, and I was suddenly bone-deep tired of it. I've always been really attracted to guys who are not scared of being feminine, I said slowly. Like guys who wear softer clothes or even dresses or makeup sometimes. I've always had these fantasies about dressing a guy up. Pantyhose, lingerie, doing his makeup. I know that probably sounds insane, but it's been in my head since high school and I've never said it out loud to anyone. There, naked, messy, hanging in the air. Carl's hand stilled on my ankle. His eyes were wide, like he'd just discovered a hidden chapter in a book he thought he knew. Okay, he said after a moment. Wow, that is definitely not something I would have guessed. He forced a little laugh, then seemed to realize that made it sound like I'd confessed to arson. I mean, not in a bad way, just surprising. Heat crawled up my neck. I get it. It's weird. I know most women hate that kind of thing. It's just, part of me, I don't even fully understand why. He chewed his lip, thinking, so what are you saying? Like, you want me to wear, like, women's clothes? Only if you ever wanted to. I rushed to say, I'm not trying to force you into anything. I just needed you to know what goes on in my head sometimes. Hiding it feels awful. There was a long pause. He looked at me, really looked, like he was trying to fit this new puzzle piece in. I don't know if that's really my thing, he said finally, but I love you. If it would make you happy, I'd be willing to try a little. Maybe, nothing too crazy. Hope flared in my chest so fast it made me dizzy. Really? He shrugged, half smiling. I mean, don't go buying me a ball gown or anything, but yeah, I can try some stuff, for you. It wasn't exactly enthusiastic, but it was a yes, and when you've spent years convinced you're unlovable for something, even a lukewarm yes feels like a miracle. I took it and ran with it. Over the next week, I went into full research mode. I lurked on forums about cross-dressing and gender expression. I made secret wish lists on lingerie sites. I tried to think about what would be comfortable for Carl. Not just what I wanted, soft cotton boy shorts in pretty colors, simple camisoles, maybe sheer pantyhose with a higher denier, less intimidating than ultra-sheer ones. I even found a couple of simple dresses that could pass as long, loose shirts if you squinted. The package arrived on a Thursday while Carl was at work. I tore it open on my bed, my heart pounding, running my fingers over silk and lace and nylon. I pictured him in each piece, tried to imagine his expression, nervous but curious maybe. I told myself not to set my expectations too high, but it was hard not to. That night, I packed everything into a gift bag with tissue paper and a stupid glittery bow. When Carl came over, I practically ambushed him at the door. "What's this?" He laughed, taking the bag. "Just some stuff," I said, suddenly self-conscious. "We don't have to do anything tonight, I just wanted to show you so you could see it's not like clown makeup or something." He pulled out the first item, a pair of soft lilac boy shorts with a little lace trim. His smile faltered. "Oh," he said. I watched his face as he lifted each thing out, the silky black camisole, the sheer black tights, the simple flowy dress in dark blue. The excitement I'd nursed all week started shrinking with each small, strained laugh he made. "Wow, you, went all out," he said. "If you hate it, it's okay," I said quickly, though the words scraped my throat. "I just thought we could try some things, see how it feels." He set the dress back in the bag, not meeting my eyes. "Yeah, I don't know, Brit. It kind of freaks me out." My chest tightened. "Because of what it means? Or just like the clothes themselves?" He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't know. Both? I'm just trying to picture myself in this stuff and it feels wrong, like I'd be pretending to be someone I'm not." I swallowed. What if it's not about pretending? What if it's just playing, trying things? He looked up then, and there was something like fear in his eyes. "I don't want you to see me differently, as less of a man or whatever, and I don't want to feel like I'm failing if I don't enjoy this the way you hope I will." I hadn't thought about it that way. In my mind, it was a fun, intimate revelation. For him, it was like I'd handed him a test he never signed up to take. I'd never think less of you, I said softly. If anything, I think it's brave to try. But if it makes you that uncomfortable, we can drop it. I don't want to pressure you. Relief flickered across his face, and that hurt more than anything. Maybe we can just start smaller, he offered weakly. Like nail polish or something? I don't know. Sure, I said, forcing a smile. We can figure it out. We set the bag aside and ordered takeout. He put the game on. We kissed, we joked, we went through the motions, but inside something had wilted. Not because he'd said no. It was his body, his choice, but because I'd ripped my chest open and shown him this raw, tender part of me, and his immediate instinct had been to back away. A few days later, at work, my coworker Laura stopped by my desk, eyes wide with gossip. Okay, you're going to die, she whispered. Stephen bent over to plug in his laptop by my desk, and I swear I saw a Victoria's Secret tag sticking out of his waistband. I blinked at her, trying to reconcile the image. Stephen sat 3 rows over in marketing, tall, thin, always in button-downs and quiet sneakers, hair that never quite did what it was told. He was nerdy in a charming way, always recommending podcasts and obscure sci-fi novels. We'd chatted in the break room a few times. He'd made me laugh more than once. You're kidding, I said, though my pulse did a weird skip. Laura shook her head, delighted. Pink tag and everything. I almost choked on my coffee. Like, what is that about? Maybe his girlfriend mixed up the laundry, but still. Kind of weird, right? One of our other coworkers chimed in from the next cubicle. That's so creepy. I'd die if I found out my boyfriend was wearing my underwear. They kept talking, making little jokes, and I sat there, staring at my screen, my mind suddenly busy with images I had no business entertaining at work. Stephen? Quiet Stephen in a pair of satin panties, maybe, under his khakis. Stephen in the camisole I'd bought for Carl. Stephen in tights. It was wrong, I knew that, to mentally dress a coworker in outfits I'd intended for my boyfriend, but the idea lodged in my brain and refused to budge. After that, every time Stephen walked by, I couldn't help wondering what he was wearing underneath. He'd lean over a conference table to point something out on a slide, and I'd catch myself studying the line of his hips, absurdly curious. A couple of weeks later, we had a work happy hour at this bar downtown. Low lighting, sticky tables, discount appetizers. I told myself I'd be chill. I'd drink a beer or two, talk to my team, go home to Carl and our unresolved bag of lingerie. That was the plan. Then someone ordered a round of Long Island iced teas for fun, and I ended up with 3 of them over the course of the night. By the time Stephen and I found ourselves side by side at the end of the bar, I was pleasantly buzzed and dangerously honest. He was nursing a beer, sleeves rolled up, talking about some board game night he went to on weekends. I laughed at a joke he made, and the words slipped out before I could catch them. So, I said, leaning in a little, is it true you wore Victoria's Secret panties to work last week? His eyes went huge. For a second, I thought he might drop his drink. What? He stammered. I realized I'd cornered him and should probably back off, but curiosity burned hotter than embarrassment. Laura saw the tag when you bent over by her desk, I clarified, lowering my voice. You don't have to explain anything, I just wanted to know if it was on purpose. He went beet red, then laughed this strained, high sound. Wow, okay, that's mortifying. You don't have to be embarrassed, I said quickly. Seriously, I'm not judging. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly debating whether to lie or run away. Finally, he exhaled. Yeah, he said quietly. They were mine. I like how they feel. Women get all the good fabrics, you know? Soft stuff, silky stuff. Guys get scratchy boxers and stiff denim. Something in my chest lit up. Exactly, I said, maybe too enthusiastically. He eyed me warily. So you're not freaked out? Stephen, I said, laughing. I think it's hot. He blinked. You do? Yeah, I've always loved feminine stuff on guys. You have no idea. The words tumbled out now, fueled by alcohol and the sudden giddy feeling of being completely seen. Honestly, when Laura told me, I couldn't stop thinking about it. He stared at me like I'd grown another head. Wow, he said. I just assumed if anyone found out, they'd think I was disgusting. I shook my head. Not even a little. I think it's brave and attractive and kind of unfair that I didn't know sooner. I grinned to soften it, but I meant it. He relaxed visibly, shoulders dropping. I mean, you're right about the fabric thing, he said, a little smile creeping back. Girls have so much more choice. Dresses, skirts, tights, lace, silk, we get cargo shorts. We laughed, and just like that, the tension shifted into something else. Curiosity, possibility. I told him in broad strokes about my thing for dressing guys up. He told me about the first time he'd tried on a girlfriend's panties in college, how it had felt like slipping into the right skin and the wrong life all at once. We compared favorites, colors, textures, styles. I admitted I preferred sheer black pantyhose to fishnets, soft pastels to neon. He confessed he'd always wanted to try a real silk slip, but didn't know how to buy one without dying of embarrassment. You know I could help with that, right? I said. I have way too many online carts going at any given time. His eyes lit up. Would you? That would be incredible, actually. That was how our friendship started, as a kind of shopping conspiracy. We began chatting more at work, swapping links to sales and new collections. On weekends, we'd meet up as friends and wander through malls, him gravitating to the women's section with this mix of awe and caution. The first time he actually tried on something while I was there was at this boutique that had private dressing rooms with plush curtains instead of doors. We'd picked out a simple black slip and a pair of opaque tights. He looked like he might bolt. You don't have to, I said softly. We can just put them back. He swallowed, then squared his shoulders. No, he said. I want to. He disappeared behind the curtain, and I sat on the little velvet bench outside, heart hammering like it was me in there. When he pulled the curtain back again, the breath left my body. He didn't look ridiculous or clownish. He looked beautiful. The slip skimmed his frame in all the right ways. The tights made his legs look impossibly long. His face was flushed, eyes darting between me and his reflection in the mirror. Oh my God, I said, grinning. Stephen, you look amazing. Really? He said, voice small. Really? If I saw you like this at a party, I'd be obsessed with you. He laughed, a little shakily, but when he turned back to the mirror, his posture changed. He rolled his shoulders back, smoothed the fabric over his stomach, examined the way the neckline framed his collarbones. Watching him see himself that way for the first time felt like witnessing something sacred. After that, it snowballed. We started having what we jokingly called girls' nights. He'd come over to my apartment with a backpack, and I'd lay out wine and cheese and my makeup bag. He'd change in my bathroom into whatever new piece we'd acquired, a satin robe, a floral dress, a pair of sheer pantyhose that made his legs shimmer in the lamplight. I'd sit him down at my vanity and do his makeup. Soft eyeshadow, a little blush, tinted lip balm, or, when he was feeling bold, a berry lipstick. We'd talk while I worked, about family, about the first time he'd questioned his gender, about my fantasies, about Carl. Carl knew I had a friendship with a coworker, but I didn't share the details. Every time my phone lit up with a text from Stephen, new dress arrived, or wine Friday, a small knot of guilt twisted in my gut. Carl would not understand this. Carl, who couldn't bring himself to try on a pair of boy shorts, would not know what to do with Stephen in full feminine mode. In my living room, I told myself it wasn't cheating. There was no kissing, no sex, no explicit anything. It was fashion, makeup, companionship. But the more time I spent with Stephen, the more I realized how deeply emotionally intimate it was. He trusted me with something so vulnerable. I trusted him with the part of myself I'd never been able to share with anyone else. When he twirled in a new dress and beamed at me for approval, my heart did that roller coaster drop again when I caught him looking at me over the rim of his wine glass, eyes soft, my breath caught. One night, halfway through our second bottle of rosé, he sat cross-legged on my couch in a pale pink dress and sheer tights, his wig, soft waves that brushed his shoulders, slightly askew. I'd just finished fixing his eyeliner, and he stared at his reflection in my phone camera, smiling this quiet, astonished smile. I wish I could be like this more often, he said, not just here. You will, I said. We'll figure it out. He looked at me then, really looked, and my stomach flipped. He looked at me then, really looked, and my stomach flipped. You know, he said, voice low, I still can't believe you exist. A straight girl who thinks this is hot and fun instead of freaky. I don't know if I'm straight, I said, the words surprising even me. Not completely anyway, he raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I said. I think I'm just into people who are honest about who they are, who don't pretend to fit into boxes. You're kind of my dream, honestly. The air went very still. Britney, he said slowly, if you keep saying things like that, I'm going to fall in love with you. My heart slammed against my ribs. I laughed, trying to diffuse the tension. Who says you haven't already? He smiled, but there was a sadness at the edges. You have a boyfriend, he reminded me gently. I looked down at my hands. I know. Later, after he left, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my phone still lit up with a text he'd sent. Thank you for tonight. For everything, I feel more like myself around you than I ever have. I thought of Carl, of the bag of lingerie shoved to the back of my closet, tag still on, of the way his face had shuddered when he saw it, of the way I'd been editing myself around him ever since, making my edges smaller so they wouldn't poke him. I realized I didn't just want a boyfriend I could dress up. I wanted a partner who wanted to step into that world with me, who found joy in it, who met me there instead of tolerating it with a grimace. I also realized I was dangerously close to falling in love with someone who was not my boyfriend. So that's where I am now, sitting in my bathroom, phone in hand, staring at Steven's text about new tights, feeling my heart swell and crack at the same time. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if this means I need to end things with Carl or have a brutally honest conversation that might shatter us, or see if there's a world where all three of us can exist without blowing up everything. I just know this. For the first time in my life, the part of me that loves femininity in men isn't locked in a secret room. It's out here, in the open, buying tights and choosing lipstick shades and laughing over shared bottles of wine. And as terrifying as that is, it also feels more honest than anything I've ever done. Maybe that's what love really is, being seen in all your strange, specific desires, and met there with a smile instead of a flinch. I don't have the ending to this story yet. I only have this moment, this choice. Keep pretending the life I'm supposed to want is enough, or step into the one that actually makes my heart race, even if it's messier. Either way, I know I can't go back to pretending I'm someone I'm not. And for better or worse, that realization changes everything.